Good evening, everybody. We've got the third final debate today, and man, I mean, this could be really crazy. I was just watching a couple of hours ago this Bobulinski guy getting on the television and calling Joe Biden a liar and saying that he's got all of this evidence that he's turning over to Congress and stuff. Oh, yeah, everybody on the internet is like, oh, they're not going to ask him about it. They'll mute Donald Trump if he talks about it. I don't know. It's just all uh, who knows. And you can mute mics apparently, or your mic will be muted when it's the other person's turn to talk for the 2 minutes, which probably not actually be a big deal. But um yeah, so I'm not sure where to take it from there. Um yeah, I tell you what, I'm kind of getting tired, to be honest. It's been a long it's been a long year, hasn't it? Well, let's pull tweet deck out here. How should we do this? I don't really have enough room to show you everything that we would like that we should. You know what I mean? Well, let's go find the debate first. Live, live, live. No, no, no. We want to watch it on C-SPAN. Come on. You know, PBS is maybe one way also that we could do. There's C-SPAN. Okay. So here's that. How are you? Hi, Win. Did you bring us snacks? I didn't. I hope you brought popcorn. Because, I mean, man. Where should we put this? Tell you what, we don't need to show the micro ES. So we can put this right here like this. There we go. Okay. Theater mode. There we go. Okay. And we'll put you guys on there. We'll turn their sound on for them. You can hear all the cameras going, "Hey, that's not a bad debate station. It's better than that thing that monster they built for the VP debate where they had to have like a glass screen and everything. Like, good grief." Okay, and then on the Twitter, we should. What's Donald Trump Jr. saying? Whistleblower confirms everything Joe is compromised. Oh, what was I thinking? Okay. Debate. Yeah, over here. Okay. And let's make sure that it has at least like 100 likes or something so that we only get the most influential stuff. Huh? All right. About to get live action. Yeah. I don't know, man. By the way, what do you guys think about that rise in the market today? I was quite happy with that trade that I got, but you could have held it all day. They didn't. They didn't quite get all the way to the stop out zone. I was kind of wondering if maybe they would do it, but yeah, it was too far. It's too far away. It did get there in the overnight, though. Oh, the baby doesn't want to go to sleep. I can hear him crying. Mom took him upstairs into the darkened room, and he's like, "No, no, we're gonna bed. Stop, Mom, no." Mm-mm. The Donald's live thread is Trump murders old man's political career live. I'm thinking we may go higher tonight if Trump does well. Well, last time around there was definitely somebody pushing it, right? Is Biden having a stroke backstage? Asks the Donald Win. Uh, I am bullish if we dip to midday. Going to drink coffee now? Yeah. Well, the thing is that last time around somebody was pushing it, and like they pushed it. And look at that. They're moving. The futures are moving here. I guess they're going to be quiet for 5 minutes while the news networks do their thing, right? Mm. The temperature in the Nashville debate hall is a COVID unfriendly sweat resistant 64 degrees. Really? Last time the most action was after that. Yeah, somebody was pushing it during, and then they finished talking, and it just tanked, right?
Good evening from Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee.
Can you hear that okay?
NBC News, and I welcome you to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J.
When I talk, it should
President Joe Biden. Tonight's debate is sponsored.
Should duck it pretty good. Is that okay?
It is conducted under health and safety.
Nah, that's a little too extreme.
Designed by the Commission's health security advisor. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, boos, or other interruptions, except right now, as we welcome to the stage former Vice President Joe Biden and President Donald J. Trump.
About maybe 29? A little quieter? What a joke changing this out. They really shouldn't have changed the topic here, for sure.
Very good evening to both of you.
I don't know what the second debate topic was supposed to be, so.
At the beginning of each section, each candidate will have 2 minutes uninterrupted to answer my first question. The debate commission will then turn their microphone on.
Oh, you know what?
It is their turn to answer. And the commission will turn it off exactly when the 2 minutes have expired. After that, both microphones will remain on. But on behalf of the vote,
there we go.
Ask you to please speak one at a time. The goal is for you to hear each other and for the American people to hear every word of what you.
Okay, well, we'll try that. I hope that works.
And so with that, if you're ready, let's start. And we will begin with the fight against the coronavirus. President Trump, the first question is for you. The country is heading into a dangerous new phase.
How about that?
40,000 Americans are.
Oh, if I do that, it doesn't.
COVID, including record numbers here in Tennessee. And since the two of you last shared a stage, 16,000 Americans have died from COVID. So please be specific.
Okay, whatever.
How would you lead the country during this next stage of the coronavirus crisis? 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
So, as you know, 2.2 million people modeled out were expected to die. We closed up the greatest economy in the world in order to fight this horrible disease that came from China. It's a worldwide pandemic. It's all over the world. You see the spikes in
There we go. That's better.
many other places right now. If you notice, the mortality rate is down 85%. The excess mortality rate is way down and much lower than almost any other country. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting it hard. There is a spike.
He's on Adderall.
In Florida, and it's now gone. There was a very big spike in Texas.
I can immediately
Now
tell.
gone. There was a very big spike in Arizona. It's now gone. And there are some spikes and surges in other places. They will soon be gone. We have a vaccine that's come.
Notice how the words flow more like the sentences flow into each other better.
We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine.
Sounds a little bit
can tell
nervous.
you
Well,
personally
the Adderall will make you a little bit more on
I
edge.
had it, and I got better. And I will tell you that I had something that they gave me, a therapeutic, I guess they would call it. Some people could say it was a cure. But I was in for a short period of time, and I got better very fast, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that, but I'm immune. More and more people are getting better. We have a problem that's a worldwide problem. This is a worldwide problem. But I've been congratulated by the heads of many countries on what we've been able to do. If you take a look at what we've done in terms of goggles and masks and gowns and everything else, and in particular ventilators, we're now making ventilators all
You own Gilead? I was surprised that they got the approval so soon.
And as I say,
I wasn't expecting that.
we're rounding the corner. It's going away.
Should have been, but
Okay, former Vice President Biden, to you, how would you
okay. So
lead the country out of
that was very
2 minutes uninterrupted?
practiced, but it was what he needed to say about it.
1,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else, I say tonight,
There are so many people dead.
anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
Okay, Joe.
We're in a situation where there are
That one's going to come back to bite you if you become president.
today, and there are over 70,000 new cases per day. Compared to what's going on,
I didn't even
in
check
Europe,
the stocks.
as the New England Medical Journal said, they're starting from a very low rate.
I was going to
We're
block
starting
him
from
in
a very high rate.
for a moment.
The expectation is we'll have another 200,000 Americans dead between now and the end of the year. If we just wore these masks, the president's own advisors have told him, we could save 100,000
They
lives.
do wear the
We're
masks,
in a
though.
circumstance where the president thus far and still has no plan, no comprehensive plan. What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time.
Oh, man, Tesla went like way high in the overnight session and
investing in
came
rapid testing.
almost all the way
Make
back.
sure that we set up national
Lots of
standards as to
things
how to
got
open up
creamed.
schools and open up businesses so they can be safe and give them the wherewithal, the financial resources to be able to do that.
Something's been happening in that rare earth resources that we've
Medical
been watching.
Journal,
It's
one of
bad.
the most serious journals in the whole world, said for the first time ever that the way this president has responded to this crisis has been absolutely tragic. And so, folks, I will take care of this. I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan.
President Trump, I'd like to follow up with you in your comments. You talked about taking a therapeutic. I assume you're referencing Regeneron. You also said a vaccine will be coming within weeks.
Yes.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be
it's
by the end of
something
the
that's
year. But
going
I think
on
it has
all
a
of
good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very
Can
quickly.
you tell us which companies?
Johnson & Johnson is doing very well. Moderna is doing very well. Pfizer is doing very well, and we have numerous others. Then we also have others that we're working on very closely with other countries, in particular Europe.
Let me follow up with you, and because this is new information, you have said a vaccine is coming soon, within weeks now. Your own officials say it could take well into 2021 at the earliest for enough Americans to get vaccinated. And even then, they say the country is wearing masks and distancing into 2022. Is your timeline realistic?
No, I think my timeline is going to be more accurate. I don't know that they're counting on the military the way I do, but we have our generals lined up, one in particular that's the head of logistics, and this is a very easy distribution for him. He's ready to go as soon as we have the vaccine, and we expect to have 100 million vials. As soon as we have the vaccine, he's ready to go.
Vice President Biden, your reaction, and just 40% of Americans say they would definitely agree to take a coronavirus vaccine if it was approved by the government. What steps would you take to give Americans confidence in a vaccine if it were approved?
Make sure it's totally transparent. Have the scientists of the world see it, know it, look at it, go through all the processes. And by the way, this is the same fellow who told you this is going to end by Easter last time.
They have made this debate so boring by doing this.
A dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that
we should be going towards 3430
before the middle of next year.
You think we're going to go down, huh?
Says you
I don't
have no
think we're going
plan.
to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and
If you can explain to me why Rare Earth Resources has been
When I
taking it
closed
so
and
hard the
banned
past 2
China
days, I would love to
coming in heavily
understand what
infected,
moves
and then
those
ultimately
companies.
Europe. But China,
Because I kind of want to own some of them.
months later, he was saying
But,
it was xenophobic.
you know,
I did
that's
it too soon.
down,
Now he's saying, "Oh, I should have, you know, moved
20%
quicker."
from
But he
when we
didn't move
first started
quicker. He
looking
was
at it.
months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers,
We've gone from the steroids debate to the Xanax debate, says the Gravel Institute.
less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was
The
catastrophic.
stock ticker is
We
REEML.
didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Vice President Biden, your response.
My response is he is xenophobic,
Okay.
but not because he shut down access from China. And he did it late after 40 countries had already done that. In addition to that, what he did, he
Whoa, what?
were in there
But you said that we shouldn't be shutting down travel.
what exactly the source was. What did the president say in January? He said, no, he said, he's being transparent. The president of China is being transparent. We owe him a debt of gratitude. We have to thank him. And then what happened was we started talking about
Well, I do kind of remember that.
sure we go out and get whatever is needed out there to protect people. And again, I go back to this. He had nothing. He did virtually nothing. And then he gets out of the hospital and he talks about
He did virtually nothing. Come
It'll
on.
be over soon. Come on. There's not another
Come on.
scientist in the world who thinks it's
This
going
is
to
just all we can say about any of this
Over
is
soon. I'd say
nonsense.
We're learning to live with it. We have no choice. We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does. He has the ability to lock himself up. I don't know. He's obviously made a lot of money someplace, but he
Oh, the kill shot, man.
can't do that. By the way, I, as the president, couldn't do that. I'd love to put myself in the basement or in a beautiful room in the White House and go away for a year and a half until it disappears. I can't do that. And Kirsten, every meeting I had, and I'd meet a lot of families, including Gold Star families and military families. Every meeting I had, and I had to meet them. I had to. It would be horrible to have canceled everything. I said, you know, this is dangerous, and you catch it. And, you know, I caught it. I learned a lot. Great doctors, great hospitals. And now
Okay.
I recovered. 99.9 of young people recover. 99% of people recover. We have to recover. We can't close up our nation. We have to open our school, and we can't close up our nation, or you're not going to have a nation.
And of course, the CDC has said young people can get sick with COVID-19 and can pass it. Vice President Biden, I want to talk broadly about strategy.
Well, I feel like that
I have a question.
I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but I feel like that Trump has been hitting the points that he has to on
die
coronavirus.
with it. You folks home will have an empty chair.
Oh my gosh, this is just so disgraceful.
Tonight and reaching over,
People are learning to die with it. That 0.01% of people
learning to live with it. Come on, we're dying with it because
dying with it.
You said it's dangerous. When's the last time? Is it really dangerous still? Are we dangerous? You tell the people it's dangerous.
It's not.
What do they do about
It's not dangerous still, actually. Like, the death rate is decreasing.
Let me talk about your two.
Excuse me, I take
Man, I'm so
It's
biased.
not my fault that
I can't be,
It's China's fault. And you know what? It's not Joe's
man.
fault that it came here either. It's China's fault. They kept
I'm not objective about this at all.
China for the most part, but they didn't keep
I
it.
just absolutely abhor what Joe Biden is saying right now.
Vice President Biden.
The fact is that when we knew it was coming, when it hit, what happened? What did the president say? He said, don't worry, it's going to go away. Be gone by Easter. Don't worry, the warm weather. Don't worry, maybe inject bleach. He said he was kidding when he said that, but a lot of people thought it was serious. A whole range of things the president...
I kind of thought that by Easter that we would be over with this,
We're about to lose...
that there wouldn't be lockdowns at least.
President Trump.
Look, perhaps just to finish this, I was kidding on that, but just to finish this, when I closed, he said I shouldn't have closed. And that went on for months. What Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. She was dancing on the streets in Chinatown in San Francisco. But when I closed, he said, this is a terrible thing. You're xenophobic. I think he
This is what you should, this is exactly it right
He
here.
was closing it to China. Now he says I should have closed it earlier. It just, Joe, it doesn't work.
I didn't say either of those things.
You
I didn't say
certainly
should have-
did.
You certainly did.
I talked about his xenophobia in a different context. It wasn't about...
Bullshit. You're so full of liar. He's just straight up lying.
Your different strategies. To
Man.
I shouldn't have closed the border.
Well, let's-
That's obvious.
Is that, respond to that quickly, Vice President
No.
Biden? Okay. Let's talk about your different strategies toward dealing with this. Mr. Vice President, you suggested you would see new shutdowns if scientists recommended it. What do you say to Americans who are fearful that the cost of shutdowns, the impact on the economy, the higher rates of hunger, depression, domestic and substance abuse outweighs the risk of exposure to the virus?
Thank you.
I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused,
Are you gonna do that?
caused the country to have to shut down in large part. Why businesses have gone under, why schools are closed, why so many people have lost their living.
His ineptitude, that's why every other country has done it and has shut down more than us.
Trap in his golf course, he should have been negotiating with Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats and Republicans about what to do about the acts they were passing for billions of dollars to make sure people had the capacity.
But you haven't ruled out more shutdowns.
Well, no, I'm not shutting down the neighbor, but there are, look, you need standards. The standard is if you have a reproduction rate in a community that's above a certain level, everybody says, slow up, more social distance.
No.
Do not open bars and do not open gymnasiums. Do not open...
Just bring Obama to the table. I think that Biden is failing on this
do
topic.
open, give the people the capacity to be able to open and have the capacity to do it safely. For example, schools. Schools, they need a lot of money to open. They need to deal with ventilation systems. They need to deal with smaller classes, more teachers, more pods. And he's refused to support that money, or at least up to now.
Let's talk about schools.
Well,
President Trump,
I think we have to respond, if I might.
please, and then I have a follow-up.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Look, all he does is talk about shutdowns, but forget about him. His Democrat governors, Cuomo in New York, you look at what's going on in California, you look at Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Democrats all, they're shut down so tight, and they're dying. They're dying. And he supports all these people. All he talks about is shutdowns. No, we're not going to shut down, and we have to open our schools. And it's like, as an example, I have a young son. He also tested positive. By the time I spoke to the doctor,
Oh, I didn't know that his son was
it
positive.
just went away. Young people, I guess it's their immune system.
Let me follow up with you, President Trump. You've demanded schools open in person and insist that
He wasted that
yesterday,
opportunity
Boston
there.
became the latest city to move its public school system entirely online after a coronavirus spike. What is your message to parents who worry that sending their children to school will endanger not only their kids but also their teachers and families?
I want to open the schools. The transmittal rate to the teachers is very small, but I want to open the schools. We have to open our country. We're not going to have a country. You can't do this. We can't keep this country closed. This is a massive country with a massive economy. People are losing their jobs. They're committing suicide. There's depression, alcohol, drugs at a level that nobody's ever seen before. There's abuse, tremendous abuse.
Thank
We have to
you.
open our country. You know, I've said it often. The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself.
Vice
And that's
President.
what's happening. He wants to close down. He'll close down the country if one person in our massive bureaucracy says we should close it down.
Vice President Biden, your
Simply
response.
not true. We're able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Okay,
ought to
Joe.
be
Well,
able to
now you're changing your.
But would they need resources to open?
I feel like that Joe tries to have it both ways. He's saying, "Oh, I don't want to shut things down," but then he does say that we should shut things down.
If you have a restaurant, you need to have plexiglass dividers so people cannot infect one.
He's 50-50. Yeah.
You can take
I really feel like that Biden's message on the coronavirus is getting really muddled here.
able to trace. You need to be able to provide all the resources that are needed to do this. And that is not inconsistent with saying that what we're going to make sure that we can open safely. And by the way, all you teachers out there, not that many of you are going to die, so don't worry about it. So
Oh, okay. Well, so we should keep the schools
Let me
open.
follow up with you quickly.
By the way, I
on-
will say this. If you go and look at what's happened to New York, it's a ghost town. It's a
Oh, man.
And when you talk about
Why are you
places,
going into this?
restaurants that are dying, these are businesses with no money. Putting up plexiglass is unbelievably expensive, and it's not the answer. I mean, you're going to sit there in a cubicle wrapped around with plastic. These are businesses that are dying, Joe. You can't do that to people.
I don't think that what he just said right there is what he's should be going for, but
For so many years, I love
We'll see.
It's vibrant. It's dying. Everyone's leaving New York.
take a look
Vice
at what
President
New
Biden.
York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at
oh, you mean having like the highest death rate in the world?
they're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states. They're the states in the
Oh,
Midwest.
that's
They're the
false.
states in the upper Midwest. That's where the spike is occurring significantly. But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump, what
when you
about-
say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friends.
So now they're going to argue over whether red states or blue states are handling the pandemic worse.
Now, it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will protect them. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up
Because it
with you
shows.
before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr.
Okay.
Anthony Fauci the nation's best-known infectious disease expert.
Okay.
Quote,
So this is an
"Doctor
important question.
Described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to
Okay.
to fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said, this is not going to be a problem.
I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay.
When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move to the next section.
My response,
Huh.
think about what the president knew in January and didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said to one of your colleagues, recorded, that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to.
I think that if you are a Democrat and you think that the administration's
Americans don't panic.
response has been really
But guess
bad,
what?
I think
In the
that
meantime, we find out in the New York
you
Times
probably
that in fact,
really like a lot of the
Wall
things
Street
that
and
Joe
said
Biden
this
is
is a
saying.
really dangerous thing, and a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers, said sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going
one
to give
I-
you
this
30
is one I
seconds
have
to
a-
respond, and then we're
The
going
Wall
to
Street
move
one,
on.
I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it.
I
Joe,
have.
Oh,
tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money. As president and as somebody that knows most of those people, I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that, like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Don't tell me about Wall Street.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start with the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight.
Okay.
Last night, top intelligence officials,
That really bothered him.
both Russia and Iran, are working to influence this election. Both countries obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear, and I ask everyone else to take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price. And it's been overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learn that Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected.
What is that price?
American sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's talking to them a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians.
Yeah, a lot. It's incredibly vague, right?
We have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy.
I mean, the thing I think, I just think this like, oh, they're going to interfere with the election. Oh,
he's being fed information that is.
Oh, let's go this way.
True. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that everything is going on here.
Oh man.
Make sure
Donald Trump is about to destroy him because it has 100% been proven true.
I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged.
He's saying so many false things here. That one's been proven false too.
I don't know.
Does he not know?
But it's worth asking the question.
Does he not know that one's been debunked?
Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump.
How about you actually implement policies that prevent them from doing this?
2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next term to put an end to this? 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through Putin because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow, and it was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and someday you're going to have to explain why did you get 3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who is fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose. Because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia.
What?
Between the sanctions, between
all of
what I've done with NATO. I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with
they probably still are.
The horrible emails of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And
I don't know if that was quite the kill shot that the president's supporters want.
should have never never happened.
For all investments new here. Hey, how's it
An
going?
explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family, but what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Okay. Okay.
I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life.
Liar.
We learned that this
Sorry, you're lying.
paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does
Notice that he's not actually directly answering the allegation.
talking about
He's not saying
money.
these
I
are
haven't
always
taken a
hilarious.
single
Yeah,
penny from
man.
any country
That this guy said that you did.
Number two, this is a president I have
What is his name
all of
again?
my tax return.
Tony?
22
Tony says you did.
22 years of my tax return. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What
Nobody cares about the tax returns. We've all seen it by now, Joe.
foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country,
Well, okay.
all around the world.
Because of the hotels,
New
okay.
road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's going on here? Why don't release your tax return or stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants under audit. I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750. I asked them a week ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens
Right.
of millions of dollars. I prepaid.
No, don't get caught up in the tax return thing. Return to Tony.
Pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell you
told
when
you
you
that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do.
You do.
I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have to
about all of
respond
this.
to
But
that.
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke
Okay.
to an accountant about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have
soon
a
as the audit is
deadline for
finished.
when you're going to release them
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
a time.
people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in
The tax issue is so silly. I don't really know if that's an issue that
Questions
people care
regarding
about.
your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
about
about this
responding
more
to this.
broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for 4 years? Show us. Just show us. Stop playing around.
Well, Tony,
You've been
no,
saying for
the
4
tax
years you're going to release your
returns.
taxes. Nobody knows it, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes. Or
Like his taxes have been leaked like 4 times. Who cares? Yeah, you guys agree it's not important to people?
Come on, folks.
Very
So
quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to 2 questions to both of you on this.
I was put through a phony witch hunt for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns.
People want to know what they can do for them, not about his taxes. Yeah, like
48
there's literally nothing that could possibly show up in his taxes that would make me not vote for
the
him.
kind of things
I don't think.
done and the kind of money
Unless there was some sort of fraud exposed, which I really don't think would happen, or it would have already been exposed by the IRS,
And
right?
it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask some questions about all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work
And then
your son has done
Biden
for
doesn't
China
really get
and
to.
for
Okay, here we go.
Ukrainian energy
She's
companies.
going to ask him directly about it. Good job, Kristen.
Was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal.
Here's what the deal.
With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one.
Good job.
Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do.
It's not what happened, but okay.
Ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not.
Tony says you did.
The guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
did
Trump,
deal with
let me
China. By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
But
and
could
then
I just
you'll-
one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the Vice President
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No,
quickly.
100% dishonest.
Everybody
I agree.
stated that. No one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is
Oh, he just said he doesn't even deny that that's what happened because it's true.
properties abroad. A report
The Ukraine thing is fishy with Joe's son.
indicate that your
Bob-
company has a bank account in
Tony Bobolinsky is
know that you don't have any foreign
saying that Joe Biden is lying and that he's going to give everything that he has.
All over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was opened it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not
Yeah,
to
bribes are normal business.
open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president and he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking
Okay,
up money
President
every
Trump,
place
thank you.
go.
We do
They're like a vacuum cleaner. That's one of my favorite moments right there.
China more broadly. There have, of course,
And Joe doesn't get to
they
respond to
should
that
pay
one.
for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus. If you were president, would you make
She is asking foreign policy
what would
questions
that
too.
look like?
What I'd make China do is play by
that's
the
good.
international rules, not like he has done. He has caused the deficit of China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that
And she's not asking these long questions or anything.
intellectual property, you have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all, number one. Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up
But Joe Biden trying to say that he hasn't been tough on China.
of the world's economy. We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you
Beyond
pay the price
fishy.
for not paying by them.
Tony Bobolinsky is saying that he has direct evidence of corruption.
Holding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right, let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to
Yes.
respond to that.
Okay, very quickly, and
His
then we're
son
going to move
walked
on
out
to
with
North
$1.5 billion
Korea.
from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two, number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump, on China policy,
true.
though, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going
First
to
of
make
all,
them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave
New
$28 billion.
sanctions? New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers. because
Taxpayers'
China,
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't
No,
come
no,
from
yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China paid
true.
$28 billion, and you know what they did to pay
it's
it, Joe?
true. It
They
is true.
devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel
my elbow
because
and
they were
hurt.
killing our steel industry. We were
Bruce
not
my
the steel
elbow.
industry.
Okay.
And now
Where is the mute? Well, it's open discussion right now, I think.
Please.
Our response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's
The malarkey.
He doesn't want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making,
It's not about my family and your family. It's just about your family. That was the most ridiculous thing you just said there.
you're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell our
Oh, they're saying it's about the American people. I
kids
see.
in college? They're the decisions you're making. In the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont, they're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want
That is a
to talk
typical
about
statement.
North Korea.
Excuse me, just
I do
for
want
1
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I
President
got elected.
Let's talk
let's
about-
get off the subject of China. Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump has met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that as a betrayal of the relationship you forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And you know, about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, you know, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
we
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and
seconds.
I have a good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat right
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be part of the deal. Because here's the I made it clear, and
They got to be part of the deal. Huh?
when I went to China, that they
Is that why North Korea was so cooperative when you were vice
moving
president?
more forces here? Why you continue to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them.
Man, I'm just not buying this one.
Want to
Like,
do something about it, step up and help.
because all I can remember about the Obama administration and foreign policy is that they just allowed everybody to do whatever they wanted, and the North Korea thing got worse and worse and worse, and the Iran thing got worse and worse and worse.
Missiles able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow up with you, Vice President Biden.
Joe's split tax plan, that wouldn't be good for markets, right? And you're absolutely correct. It'd be very bad for markets. But
The condition that he would agree that
in the meantime, markets would be happy to have him because they think that the Democrats will pass a really, really big stimulus bill.
All right, let's move on to American
Kristen,
families.
they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
gotta
for
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's
I-
okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to
of
move
other
on because we
countries
have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
we have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
that's
a
Your
bad
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded the rest of the
Okay.
The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk.
Maybe better for traders, though, not investors. I don't know.
Legitimize you.
You're right. The moderator keeps interrupting Trump, but I bet you it's probably because Trump is running over his time. We could put up a clock if we want.
And it didn't
Move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk about
He left
American
me
families.
a mess, Kristen.
President Trump. Okay, we do
They
need to
left
move on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in
to
fact,
move
if
on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can get
first
to all
2 or
of
3
our
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country had.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most important to them is health care, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court
I think
justice.
this week's been terrible for. Oh, I guess it depends on which way you've been trading.
Fight. Over 20
I've been able to come out. I think almost every day this week, haven't I?
Administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court.
But I like to swing.
Supreme Court does overturn that law. Those
You don't have to.
Supreme
You have to trade small so you don't get killed,
almost
but swings
overnight.
trade.
So
Yeah.
what would you do if those people have their
Because I go for big winners, it's been working really well.
First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible. Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision, run it
I trade futures,
to my people, great people.
so primarily 10-year treasuries and S&P 500
Everybody
futures.
very unhappy. They ran
Every morning, 8:20, 10:30 Eastern
down,
time.
everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual
And you
mandate.
can watch them on replay if you
I
want.
don't know that it's going to work. If
I'm not going
we
to say
don't
that I'm
win,
an amazing
I'll have to
trader.
run it, and
Sometimes
we'll
I do
have
really
Obamacare,
poorly.
But
So
it'll be better run. But it no longer.
I trade
Obamacare,
micros.
because
I
without
trade
the
micros.
individual
I always
mandate,
taking the minimal amount of risk I
existing
can.
conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better health care, much better.
When I'm really looking to make money, I put that money
I'd
in
like to
other
terminate
places.
Obamacare, come up with a brand new,
where,
beautiful
I
health
could get a
care.
consistent
The
return.
Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House. Okay, you'll see, but I think we're going to win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important: we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care, far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million plans. We have done an incredible
Okay, so
job on health,
right here,
and we're going to
Donald Trump has over his 2 minutes. Right.
Okay,
Let me
Vice
respond.
President Biden, yes, this is for you.
Okay.
Your health care plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
What I'm going to do is pass.
She's asking them both really tough questions, and they're not really answering them.
Public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices.
Oh, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden. I tell you that much.
Medicare to negotiate drug
I'm pretty hard conservative.
insurance
But
companies.
I'm very serious about
that I want
things
to
have to be
eliminate
proven.
the reason why
What are
I
the
had to
facts?
fight
I
for
disagree with them a lot of the time.
for the
We're
nomination.
very much about
I
being
support
able to correctly
private
interpret the
insurance.
political
That's
situation
why
so
I
that we
did
can make good
not
trades.
one single
But
person
I'm a Republican and I don't
would lose their insurance
try and hide it or, be unbiased.
under
If you're a Democrat, you might not
lose their
like
insurance.
the stream very much.
Chose they wanted to go to something else. Lastly, we're going to make sure we're in a situation that we actually protect pre-existing. There's no way he can protect pre-existing conditions. None, zero. You can't do it in the ether. He's been talking
You
about
can't do
for
it
a
in the
long
ether.
time. He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan.
I respect your views.
Since 17, 18, 19, and 20. The fact, I still have a few more minutes. I know you're getting anxious. The fact is that he's already cost the American people, because of his terrible handling of the COVID virus and the economic spillover, 10 million people have lost their private insurance. And he wants to take away 22 million more people who have it under Obamacare, and over 110 million people with pre-existing conditions.
People are on Twitter. Bill Mayer says this debate needs to
What are they
fly
gonna do?
I
quickly.
have a follow-up for you, Vice President Biden. It relates to something that President Trump said. He's accusing you of wanting socialized medicine. What do you say to people who have concerns that your health care plan, which includes a government insurance option, takes the country one step closer to a health care system run entirely by the government? What's
I
your
say
response
it's
to them?
ridiculous. It's like saying that, we're the idea that the fact that there's a public option that people can choose, that makes it a socialist plan. Look, the difference between the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have
Wow.
health care.
That's interesting. So Joe Biden's messaging in the debate on this subject has moderated a little bit, because now he's focusing on the public option, which enjoys popular support.
Lives, and this is going to give some people.
I believe that it's a Trojan horse, but
to have health care for their children. Home are worried and rolling
polling
around
doesn't.
at night wondering
Uh,
what God's name you're going to
yeah.
do if you get sick, because you've lost your home insurance, your health insurance, your company's
Donald
gone
is
on.
down.
We have to provide health insurance for people.
Do you use indicators, or what's your trading strategy?
Trump,
He was
Your
there
response.
for 47 years. He didn't do it.
Yeah. So I mean,
Now there as vice president
I
for 8 years, and it's not.
will use indicators, but they're not really a key
It was
component of my
just
strategy.
a little while ago, right?
I am
He didn't do anything.
largely
He wants
looking at the news and the fundamentals,
his vice president.
and I have a way of calculating out or estimating where people's positions are
Wants it even more.
based on volume.
Wants it. The Democrats want it. You're
Order
going to have
flow.
socialized medicine.
So I look at the positions, wait for some news that kind of pushes them out of their positions, and trade it that way.
Where he got very lucky to get it, and he goes to Pennsylvania,
But I'm trading primarily news and fundamentals.
and you never ask that question. And by the way, so far I respect very much the way you're handling this. I have to say.
By the way,
but somebody should ask the question.
You can ask
He goes for a year. There will be
We
no
have
fracking. there will be no petroleum.
we have a number of topics we're
No,
going to
but
get
that's a
to.
big- that's a big question.
We're going to get to. We're going to get to.
It's
It's the
a number
same
of
thing with
topics.
socialized
I have to
medicine.
respond.
Vice
to
President,
health-
your response, please.
My response is people deserve to have affordable health care, period.
Swing trades? No, I mean,
The Biden
I'm looking for the quick scalp.
provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do,
I mean, I want to run it as far as I can, but
$50 billion over 10 years to do it.
I only trade the 3 hours.
Lower premiums, you can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower
And usually, if I'm in a position more than 20 minutes, that's
unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. He keeps talking about it. He hasn't done a thing for anybody on health care. Not a thing.
Tristan, when
Very
he
quickly,
says,
then I want to talk
when
about
he
what's
says
happening on
public
Capitol
option,
Hill.
he's talking about socialized medicine, and when he and healthcare. When he talks about a public option, he's talking about destroying your Medicare, totally destroyed, and destroying your Social Security, and this whole country will come down. You know, Bernie Sanders tried it in his state. He tried it in his state. His governor was a very liberal governor. They wanted to make it work.
Okay,
It
let's
was
let Vice President
impossible
Biden
to work.
respond.
It doesn't
Vice
work.
President
He's
Biden,
a very
your
confused
response.
guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. And the idea that we're in a situation that they're going to destroy Medicare, the guy that the actuary at Medicare said, if in fact, at Social Security, if in fact he continues to withhold his plan to withhold the tax on Social Security will be bankrupt by 2023.
We're talking about the payroll tax?
This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So
The payroll tax holiday?
Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
He tried to get
10
rid of.
seconds,
He
Mr.
tried to hurt
President, and then I
Social
have to go to
Security
another
years
question.
ago. Years ago. Go back and look at the records. He tried to hurt Social Security years ago.
All
One
right,
thing,
let's move
but
on.
this
I'm
is
going to
the
move
guy
on.
that when they
Mr.
announced
President, I have to
last
move on
week,
to the next question.
They said
or
the
else
stock
we're not
market
going to have
will
time to
boom
talk about it.
if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Okay, let's
The biggest
move on to the
analysts are
next
saying that.
question.
Let me respond.
Very quickly.
Look, the idea that the stock market is booming.
She doesn't want to let them,
What's happening?
because they only get like 2 back and forth responses, and she wants to move on.
Just in the last 3 years during this crisis, the billionaires in this country made, according to the Wall Street, $700 billion more dollars. $700 billion more
The Wall Street can't make money.
That's his only measure. What happens to the ordinary people out there? What happens to them?
This is helps.
We're going to move on. Gentlemen.
401ks are through the roof.
We're gonna
People's
move on.
stock are through the roof.
All right.
And he doesn't come from Scranton. That's like he lived there for a short
We're
period of
gonna-
time before he
okay,
even knew
we're
it.
going to move on to
and
the
he
next
left.
question.
And the people of Pennsylvania
Let me
will
move
show
on
you
to my
that.
next question,
They
gentlemen.
understand.
As of tonight, more than 12 million people are out of work, and as of tonight, 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty, and more families are going hungry every day. Those hit hardest are women and people of color. They see Washington fighting over a relief bill. Mr. President, why haven't you been able to get them the help they need? 30 seconds here.
Because Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve it. I do.
But you're the president.
I do, but
Well, he doesn't write the laws.
one of the reasons I think we're going to take over the House because of her. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to approve anything because she'd love to have some victories on a date called November 3rd. Nancy Pelosi does not want to approve it. We are ready, willing, and able to do something. Don't forget, we've already approved 3 plans, and it's gone through, including the Democrats, in all fairness. This one she doesn't want. It's near the election because she thinks it helps her politically. I think it hurts her politically.
All right, Mr. Vice President,
You know, the Republican leader in the United States Senate said he can't pass it. He will not be able to pass it. He does not have Republican votes. Why isn't he talking to his Republican friends?
let me follow up with you, Vice President
we made a
Biden,
deal, the
because
Republicans
let me
will
ask
pass
Vice
it.
President Biden a question. You are the leader of
This is the same thing that we've been trading the past week.
Democrats to get a
funny.
deal for the American people.
Well, I have, and they have pushed it. Look, they passed this
Oh, what?
this summer.
Well, I have.
Like it's not new.
Well, you have. Okay, then it's good. It's done. We're going to pass it tomorrow, guys. Did you just hear that?
That's what's happening.
Bye now. He's going to fix it.
Dollars. I was able to get $145 billion to local communities that have to balance their budgets and states that have to balance their budgets. So then have to fire firefighters, teachers, first responders, law enforcement officers, so they can keep their cities and counties running. He will not support that. They have
Yeah, you live in Tennessee. You're in Wynn's area.
said, let them go bankrupt. Let them go bankrupt. Come on. What's the matter
The
with
bill
these
that was
guys?
passed in the House was a bailout of badly run, high crime, Democrat, all run by Democrats, cities and states. It was a way of getting a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars to these states. It was also a way of getting a lot of money from our people's pockets to people that come into our country illegally. We were going to take care of everything for them. And what that does, and I'd love to do that, I'd love to help them, but what that does, everybody all over the world will start pouring into our country. We can't do it. This was a way of taking care of them. This was a way of spending on things that had nothing to do with COVID, as per your question. But it was really a big bailout for badly run Democrat cities and states.
All right,
By the
I
way,
want
if
to.
I get elected, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I don't
Okay.
see red states and blue states. What I see is American, United States.
Okay, but we don't want to bail out the Democrat states. I'm sorry.
We're going to start laying off, whether they're red or blue, cops, firefighters, first responders, because teachers, because they have to balance their budget. And the founders were smart.
But see, Joe Biden is smart. He understands
United States of America.
the strategy and the message that he has to get out, and those are strong moments for him right
Business
there.
owners these days. Do you think this is the
He's
right
playing the strategy.
time to raise the minimum wage? You, of course, support a $15 federal minimum
I
wage.
do, because I think one of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bail them out, too. We should be bailing them out.
Okay, well, increasing the minimum wage ain't going to do that.
6 of them going under. They're not going to be able to make it back. They passed a package that allows us to be able to call PPP. Money is supposed to go to help them do everything from organize how they can deal with their businesses being open safely. Schools, how they can make classrooms smaller, how they can hire more teachers, how they can put ventilation systems in. They need the help. The businesses as well as the schools need the help.
I've been sitting in this chair too long today.
Will not help them. Is not giving them any of the money.
We are going to move on to
Excuse me,
immigration,
one thing very
but I
quickly.
want
He
to get
said we
your
have to help our
reaction.
small businesses by raising the minimum wage. That's not helping.
But-
I think it should be a state option. Alabama is different than New York. New York is different from Vermont. Every state is different. It should be a state option.
you said very
we have
recently-
to help. It's very important. We have to help our small businesses.
You
How
said-
are you helping your small businesses when you're forcing wages? What's going to happen, and what's been proven to happen, is when you do that, these small businesses fire many of their employees.
You said very
Not true,
recently you would
by the way.
consider raising
It is true.
the wage to $15
Say
an
it.
hour. You said recently you would consider raising the federal minimum wage to
What I
$15 an hour.
really
Is that
like,
still the case?
And I would consider it to an extent, but
In a
what I
second
really
administration?
like, in a second administration, but not to a level that's going to put all these businesses out of business. It should be a state option. Look, I've lived in different places. I know different places. They're all different. Some places, $15 is not so bad. In other places, other states, $15 would be
Okay, President
ruinous.
Trump, thank you. Quick response,
one
Vice
should
President
work
Biden.
2 jobs, 1 job, be below poverty. People are making $6, $7, $8 an hour. These first responders, we all clap for as they come down the street because they've allowed us to make it. What's happening? They deserve a minimum wage of $15. Anything below that puts you below the poverty level.
No.
That when you raise the
Those people don't get paid minimum wage. They get paid $15 an hour. And if you raise it, then they're not going to be making,
Gentlemen. And we're gonna
then
talk
all of their costs go up. And
Mr. President, your administration
hurts those
separated
people.
children from their parents at the border, at least 4,000 kids. You've since reversed.
funny that he would bring out first
The United
responders in
States
particular.
can't locate the parents of more than 500 children. So how will these families ever be reunited?
Children are brought here by coyotes and lots of bad people, cartels, and they're brought here, and they used to use them to get into our country. We now have as strong a border as we've ever had. We're over 400 miles of brand new wall. You see the numbers, and we let people in, but they have to come in legally, and they come in through
But
merit.
how will you
But
reunite
let me
these
just tell
kids
you,
with their
Let me just
families,
tell you,
Mr.
they
President?
built cages. You know, they used to say, I built the cages, and then they had a picture in a certain newspaper, and it was a picture of these horrible cages.
Oh, I forgot to reset my clock timer.
President Trump
I'm just awful at this
that was the term they
timekeeping
were
thing.
built. In 2014, that was him.
Do you
They
have a
built
plan to
cages.
reunite the kids
Yes,
with
we're
their
working on
families?
it we're trying very hard. But a lot of these kids come out without the parents. They come over through cartels and through coyotes and through gangs.
Vice President Biden, let me bring you into this
525
conversation. Quick response and then another question to you.
These 500 plus kids came with parents.
Wrong.
Separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. Real tough. We're really strong. And guess what? They cannot, it's not coyotes didn't bring them over. Their parents were with them. They got separated from their parents. And it makes us.
It's just they have stats on the number of the people out there that did not come with parents.
They
So
did it. We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to
did
that?
It. We
We
changed.
did not
They built the
separate the
cages.
vet- they-
who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about
Who
what we're
built-
who built the cages, Joe?
Parents were ripped, their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone.
Sorry, Joe. Is it? You don't think there's something odd, like your child has been taken from you, and the government can't find you?
Are so well taken care of.
Are you kidding me? Come on. If they can't find the parents, it's because the parents don't want to be found.
Ask him that. Who built the cages?
Let me ask about your immigration policy, Mr. Vice President. The Obama administration did fail to deliver immigration reform, which had been a key promise during the administration. It also presided over record deportations as well as family detentions at the border before changing course. So why should voters trust you with an immigration overhaul now?
You made a mistake. It took too long to get it right. It took too long to get it right. I'll be president of the United States, not vice president of the United States. And the fact is, I've made it very clear.
Are you saying that Obama was a bad president?
Sent to the United
Joe?
States Congress a pathway to citizenship for over 11 million undocumented people. And all of those so-called dreamers, those DACA kids, they're going to be immediately certified again to be able to stay in this country and put on a path to citizenship. The idea that they are being sent home by this guy, and they want to do that, is they've gone to a country they've never seen before. I can imagine you're 5 years old, your parents are taking you across the Rio Grande River, and it's illegal.
Ooh, I know what we should do, guys. We should change it and just let the people that are families in here, and that way even more families will want to come, and you will have more of this problem.
Crisis.
Brilliant idea, huh?
We owe them.
Kristen, he had 8 years to do what he said he was going to do. And I've changed without having a specific. We got rid of catch and release. We got rid of a lot of horrible things that they put in and that they lived with. But he had 8 years he was vice president. He did nothing except build cages to keep children in.
Vice President Biden, you're
what?
If in fact you had a family,
I mean,
came across,
I don't think that Donald Trump is going to completely win the fact check on this one, but I'm not sure if this is important to who wins.
Showed up for a hearing. And this is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America. That's never happened before in America. You come to the United States and you make your case that I seek asylum based on the following premise: why I deserve it under American law. They're sitting in squalor on the other side of the river.
President Trump, your response,
so
30
important.
seconds, and then we'll move on.
I didn't quite understand what my wife came in and said to me. I don't know if is she watching?
Release is a disaster. A murderer would come in, a rapist would come in, a very bad person would come in. We would take their name. We have to release them into our country. And then you say they come back. Less than 1% of the people come back. We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years. We're going to give you a court case. You need Perry Mason. We're going to give you a court case. When you say they come back, they don't come back, Joe. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, they might come back.
Okay,
But
President
they're
Trump,
very,
let's
very
give
few.
Vice President Biden a chance to respond, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said that.
Not true.
Well, check it out. They don't come back.
Check it out.
All right, let's move
But
on.
He says that's simply not true, but that the administration has a lot of stats to say that they don't come back.
And lost their parents.
Go ahead.
All right, let's talk about our next section, which is race in America.
I remember this whole thing, and all the Democrats said, oh, if we give them a house and everything like that and pay for them, then they do come back. And then the administration went and did all their stats about the catch and releases that were happening over the time that they had been in charge, and none of them were coming back.
No reason other than the color of their skin. Mr. Vice President, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
I do. You know, my daughter is a social worker, and she's written a lot about this. She has a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania in social work. And you know, one of the reasons why I ended up working on the east side of Wilmington, Delaware, which is 90% African American, was
Obama originally came up with the separation. You're right. I mean,
tell my daughter.
kind of the thing that happened was they did the separation thing, and then the Trump administration changed the rules to say that we're going to enforce it all the time.
Has to teach their child.
So then it came into this thing where they had to separate them all the time, and that was an unintended consequence.
In fact, if you get pulled over,
Right? Like what happened was
hands on top.
who was it? The Attorney General guy
Are in
changed the policy, and then the administration was like flat-footed. They're like, "Oh wait, people are like what?" And so it took them a while to figure out
on
how to deal with it.
The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said, we've never lived up to it, that we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it. But we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion, not exclusion. This is the first president to come along and says, that's the end of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We have to provide for economic opportunity, better education, better health care, better access to schooling, better access to opportunity to borrow money to start businesses. All the things we can do, and I've laid out a clear plan as to how to do those things, just to give people a shot. It's about accumulating the ability to have wealth as well as it is to be free from violence.
President Trump, same question to you, and let me remind you of the question. I would like you to speak directly to these families. Do you understand why these parents fear for their children?
Yes, I do. And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them super predators. And he said that. He said it,
Yes.
super predators.
Fights.
And they have never lived that down.
It's those black supporters
Your crime-
that are,
the super
you know,
predators.
leaving Joe Biden and going to
More
Donald
for
Trump.
the black
And I don't think that
community
he's
than
been able to hit that into the debate very well, and I think he's doing it right
With
now.
the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln,
Hey, thanks,
nobody,
Burrell.
what I've done.
see
Criminal
you later.
justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it. I don't even think they tried because they had no chance at doing it. They might have wanted to do it, but if you had to see the arms I had to twist to get that done, it was not a pretty picture, and everybody knows it, including some very liberal people that cried in my office. They cried in the Oval Office. 2 weeks later, they're out saying, gee, we have to defeat him. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones with Tim Scott, a great senator from South Carolina. He came in with this incredible idea for opportunity zones. It's one of the most successful programs. People don't talk about it. Tremendous investment is being made. Biggest beneficiary, the black and Hispanic communities, and then historically black colleges and universities. After 3 years of coming to the office, I love some of those guys. They were great. They came into the office and they said, I said, what are you doing? After 3 years, I said, why do you keep coming back? Because we have no funding. I said, you don't have to come back every year. We have to come back because President Obama would never give them long-term funding, and I did. 10-year long-term funding, and I gave them more money than they asked for because they said, I think you need more. And I said, the only bad part about this is I may never see you again because I got very friendly with them, and they like me and I like them. But I saved historically black colleges and universities.
Okay, and we're going to talk about both of your records, but your response to that.
So we went over 5 seconds. They cut his
I
mic
never, ever said
for a moment.
accused me of saying. The fact of the matter is, in 2000, though, after the crime bill had been in the law for a while, this is the guy who said, the problem with the crime bill, there's not enough people in jail. There's not enough people in jail. And go on my website, get the quote, the date when he said it. Not enough people.
That's one I haven't heard before.
Marauding gangs, young gangs, and the people who are going to maraud our cities. This is a guy who in the Central Park five innocent black kids, he continued to push for making sure that they got the death penalty. None of them were,
Because he thought they were guilty.
of what the crimes they were suggested. Look, and talk about granted, he did in fact let 20 people, he commuted 20 people's sentences. We commuted over 1,000 people's sentences.
It's a real mudslinging there,
The
wasn't
law
it?
he's talking about is a law that, in fact, initiated by Barack Obama. And secondly, we're in a situation here where the federal prison system was reduced by 38,000 people under our administration. And one of these things we should be doing, there should be no
The Donald is down.
in the law. That's why I'm offering $20 billion to states to change their state laws to eliminate minimum mandatories and set up drug courts. No one should be going to jail because they have a drug problem. They should be going to rehabilitation, not to jail. We should fundamentally change the system, and that's what I'm going to do.
But why didn't he do it 4 years ago? Why didn't you do that 4 years ago, even less than that? Why didn't you
I
do it?
am
You were
not-
vice president. You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this. But you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. If I thought you did a good job, I would have never run. I would have never run. I ran because of you. I ran because of you.
All right, Vice President.
That was one of his best debate moments. My goodness.
You know who he is. You know his character. You know my character.
I'm not impressed with your character, man.
I am anxious to have this race.
I don't care what the character is of your president is, man. All that matters is what he's going to do.
The country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up.
Excuse me.
Please respond, and then we're going to have
If this
follow-up
stuff is true
questions.
about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody-
Take a look
President
at the
Trump, I
laptop
wanna
from
stay
hell.
on the issue
Excuse
of
me,
race. We're
take a
talking
look at
about
the
the issue.
laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're
Nobody.
talking about race right now. On the issue of race. President Trump, you've just
Respond.
I think Trump got the best of him on all of that.
National intelligence folks.
Oh, he's going to pull this out.
He's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all five former heads of the CIA.
Well, they're wrong. It's been verified.
What he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
It's been verified.
Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And
You
that's
gotta
exactly
be-
what-
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what
This
was
is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to continue
Boy,
on the
boy.
issue of race. Mr. President,
believe
you've
that one.
described the Black Lives Matter movement as a symbol of hate. You've shared
That was like really fake acting.
supporters. You've said that black professional athletes exercising their First Amendment rights should be fired. What do you say to Americans who say that kind of language from a president is contributing to a climate of hate and racial strife?
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs, talking about our police. Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. I said, that's a horrible thing. And they were marching down the street. And that was my first glimpse of Black Lives Matter. I thought it was a terrible thing. As far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
Well, what do you say to Americans?
Say, I got criminal justice reform done and prison reform and opportunity zones. I took care of black colleges and universities.
I'm the least racist person in this room.
I mean, they can say anything. It makes me sad because
Oh my gosh,
I'm the
guys.
least racist person. I can't.
He has so many funny moments.
Who's in the audience? I'm the least racist person.
I don't care who's in the audience.
Okay,
It's
Vice
funny.
President Biden, let me ask you very quickly, and then I have a follow-up question for you.
He's definitely less racist than Joe Biden.
Modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Every single one. Started off his campaign coming down the escalator saying he's going to get rid of those Mexican
Yeah, you're right, RJ. It's 100% verified.
Muslims. He has moved
Multiple avenues. It is real.
across the board. He says about the poor boys. Last time we were on stage here, he said, I told them to stand down and stand ready.
I guess if Trump is Abraham Lincoln.
He's a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
President Trump, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I have a
No,
follow-up question.
he made a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Where did that come in? I mean,
You said
where
you're
did that-
Abraham
No,
Lincoln.
where did that? No.
You said-
I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community.
And I'm
I
saying-
didn't say I'm Abraham Lincoln. I said not since Abraham Lincoln has anybody done what I've done for the black community. Now you have done.
He wants to repeat it.
The crime bill. Tens of thousands of black men.
He's just destroying him on this.
You look at what's happening with the voting right now.
Let me ask
They
Vice
remember
President
that
Biden
you treated them
about-
very, very badly.
The-
Just
the-
take a look at what's happening out there.
Vice President Biden, let me give you a chance to respond within this context. Crime bills that you support.
Man,
contributed to the incarceration of
So, and he pulled himself some extra time there,
small amounts
didn't
of
he?
drugs in their possession. They are sons, they are brothers, their fathers, their uncles, whose families are still to this day, some of them suffering the consequences. So speak to those families. Why should they vote for you?
One of the things is that in the 80s, we passed 100%, all 100 senators voted for it, a bill on drugs and how to deal with drugs. It was a mistake. I've been trying to change the since then, particularly the portion on cocaine. That's why I've been arguing that, in fact, we should not send anyone to jail
cocaine
for
shouldn't.
a pure drug offense. They should be going into treatment across the board. That's what we should be spending money on. That's why I set up drug courts, which were never funded by our Republican friends. They should not be going to jail for a drug or an alcohol problem. They should be going into treatment. That's what we've been trying to do. That's what I'm going to get done, because I think maybe the American people have now seen that, in fact, it was a mistake to pass those laws relating to drug. But they were not in the crime bill.
But why didn't he get it done? See, it's all talk, no action with these politicians. Why didn't he get it done? That's what I'm going to do when I become president. You were vice president along with Obama as your president, your leader, for 8 years. Why didn't you get it done? You had 8 years to get it done. Now you're saying you're going to get it done because you're all talk and no action, Jim.
We got a lot of it done. We released 38,000. We got 38,000 prisoners left from the.
You got nothing done.
38,000 prisoners were released from federal prison. There were over 1,000 people who were given clemency. In fact, we're the ones that put in the legislation saying we could look at.
Yeah, the Donald Trump win saying Trump reclaiming the U.S. versus us versus politicians ground very well. I feel like, yes, he is.
We lost an election. That's why I'm running
I don't
to
know.
win back that election and change his terrible policy.
Is Donald Trump getting done what he needs to get done in this debate? I think so.
You do it in the 8 years, a short time ago. Why didn't you do it? You just said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. You put tens of thousands of mostly black young men.
Come on, Joe. Blame it on the Republicans.
You're going to
Blame it on the Republicans. Go ahead.
get it done. You had 8 years with Obama.
What you going to do?
You know why, Joe? Because you're all talk and no action.
All right, Vice President
Because
Biden, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
We had a Republican Congress. That's the answer.
You got to talk them into it.
We're going to move on.
Justice reform. I had
Okay.
Oh!
So we got to get on to climate change, please.
Wow.
Visions on climate change. President
That was amazing.
jobs in the energy sector. Vice President
I'm sorry. I mean, obviously, I'm very biased, right? But I think that exchange went incredibly well for Donald Trump.
and support job growth at the same time, starting with
I'm sitting here to go ahead, blame it on the Republicans, and he did.
We have the Trillion Trees program. We have so many different programs. I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air. We have the best, lowest number in carbon emissions, which is a big standard that I notice Obama goes with all the time. Not Joe. I haven't heard Joe use the term because I'm not sure he knows what it represents or means, but I have heard Obama use it. And we have the best carbon emissions.
Sergeant Coates says Trump is doing well this week. He took his Adderall, I'm telling you.
Administration, we are working so well with industry, but here's what we can't do. Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses. I will not sacrifice tens of millions of jobs, thousands and thousands of companies because of the Paris Accord. It was so unfair. China doesn't kick in until 2030. Russia goes back to a low standard, and we kicked in right away. It would have destroyed our businesses. So, you ready? We have done an incredible job environmentally. We have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the best carbon emission standards that we've seen in many, many years.
Vice President
And we
Biden.
haven't destroyed our industries.
Vice President Biden, 2 minutes.
So he didn't use all of his time.
Climate change and climate warming, the global warming, is an existential threat to humanity. we have a moral obligation to deal with it. And we're told by all the leading scientists in the world
Incumbents
we don't
historically
have
do
much
better in second
time to
debate.
pass
That's
the point of no
true.
return within the next 8
You're right.
to 10 years. 4 more years of this
That
man
discussed it.
eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us to clean up the climate, to limit the limit of emissions, will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble. Here's where we have a great opportunity. I was able to get both all the environmental organizations as well as labor, the people worried about jobs, to support my climate plan. Because what it does, it will create millions of new good-paying jobs. We're going to invest in, for example, 50,000 charging stations on our highway.
500,000,
So that we can
50,000.
own the electric car market of the future. In the meantime, China is doing that. We're going to be in a position where we're going to see to it that we're going to take 4 million existing buildings and 2 million existing homes and retrofit them so they don't leak as much energy, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil in the process and creating significant number of jobs. And by the way, the whole idea of what this is all going to do, it's going to create millions of jobs, and it's going to clean the environment. Our health and our jobs are at stake. That's what's happening. And what right now, by the way, Wall Street firms indicated that my plan will in fact create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his. This is from Wall Street. And I'll create $1 trillion more in economic growth than his proposal does. Not on climate, just on the economy.
President Trump, you're
Today came out and said very strongly, $6,500 will be taken away from families under his plan, that his plan is an economic disaster. If you look at what he wants to do, if you look at his plan, his
nothing to do with
environmental
climate.
plan, you know who developed
So there's kind of this issue where it's like Wall Street wants the stimulus.
Good line of
But what's going to happen is you're going to get the stimulus, and there's going to be a lot of negative effects from it. Like what he's talking about here, where your energy bill is going to go up.
$100 trillion. If we had the best year in the history of our country for 100 years, we would not even come close to a number like that. When he says buildings, they want to take buildings down because they want to make bigger windows into smaller windows. As far as they're concerned, if you had no window, it would be a lovely thing. This is the craziest plan that anybody has ever seen. And this wasn't done by smart people. This wasn't done by anybody. Frankly, I don't even know how it can be good politically. They want to spend $100 trillion. That's their real number. He's trying to say it was 6.
So she was tried to break him off at 1
They want
minute.
to knock down buildings and build new buildings with little, tiny, small windows. I mean, and many other things.
Okay.
And many other things.
Let me have the Vice President
It
respond,
is
and we're running out of
crazy.
time, and we have a lot
And
more
you'll
questions to
destroy
get
our
to.
country.
So let's hear from the Vice President. I have a number more questions.
I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he comes up with these numbers.
Queens.
$100 trillion. Give me a break. This plan was endorsed by every major.
Well, Donald Trump is talking about the original Green New Deal, and Biden is talking about a
because they
different
know
plan
the
now.
future lies. The future lies in us being able to breathe, and they know there are good jobs in getting us there. And by the way, the fastest growing industry in America is the electric,
I don't
solar
think it was
energy.
100 trillion.
He thinks wind causes cancer, windmills. It's the fastest growing jobs, and they pay good prevailing wages, 45, 50 bucks an hour. We can grow and we can be cleaner if we go the route I'm proposing.
Wind isn't the right way.
Excuse me.
Please
We are
respond, and then I have some
We are
follow-ups.
energy independent for the first time. We don't need all of these countries that we had to fight war over because we needed their energy. We are energy independent. I know more about wind than you do. It's extremely expensive, kills all the birds, it's very intermittent, it's got a lot of problems, and they happen to make the windmills in both Germany and China. And the fumes coming up, if you're a believer in carbon emission, the fumes coming up to make these massive windmills is more than anything that we're talking about with natural gas, which is very clean. One other thing.
Find me a scientist
Solar.
that said that.
I love solar, but solar doesn't quite have it yet. It's not powerful yet to really run our big, beautiful factories that we need.
Oh,
to
it's
compete.
almost, we need nuclear power.
So,
folks.
it's all a pipe
I wish we had a politician that was pushing nuclear power.
economy in the world. But if you want to kill the
right.
economy, get rid of your oil industry. And what about fracking?
All right,
Now we have to ask
let
him
me
about
allow
fracking.
Vice President Biden to
I
respond.
never said I oppose fracking.
You did.
I did.
Put it on.
Put it on the website. The fact
Put it on.
is flat lying.
Would you rule out banning fracking?
I do rule out banning fracking because the answer we need.
He's said on multiple occasions that we will ban fracking.
To get to
Multiple occasions.
complete zero emissions.
He's just such a liar.
What I will do with
Is it-
fracking over
I mean, he knows that he said that. He's just being brazen about the lie at this point.
capture the emissions from gas. We can do that, and we can do that by investing money and doing it. But it's a transition.
I think that Biden is thinking, well, I can just lie and everybody will forget about it. But they're going to slam him on that in Pennsylvania.
I will show that to you tomorrow. I
Good.
am against fracking. Until he got the nomination, went to Pennsylvania, then he said, but you know what, Pennsylvania? He'll be against it very soon because his party is totally against it.
Fracking on federal land, I said. No fracking
You said
and or
fracking.
oil
You
on
didn't say
federal
fracking.
Let
land.
me ask this
I
final
did.
question in this section, and then I want to move on to our final section. President Trump, people of color are much more likely to live near oil refineries and chemical plants. In Texas, there are families who worry the plants near them are making them sick.
Yeah, here's the Donald win with the video.
But another thing
Why
that he
should
said
these
in
families
Pennsylvania,
give you
and it's
another
key that he
4
said
years
it in
office?
Pennsylvania,
families
is
that
that
we're
he is
talking about
not
are
against fracking, that he won't ban fracking. And obviously, we have a lot of tape of things that he said over time. Take a listen to what he said today and looking back.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those, any fossil fuel.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes.
There's better videos than that.
I have a final question for both of you.
My response is that those people live on what they call fence lines.
YouTube ads beat Facebook
They
ads.
live near chemical plants that, in fact, pollute. Chemical plants and oil plants and refineries that pollute. I used to live near that when I was growing up in Claymont.
Robert Reich, this fracking debate is an utter disgrace. Ban it and protect working people. This isn't complicated.
Including in Houston.
In case there was any question about that, Democrats really do want to ban fracking.
School, turned in the windshield wiper, they put oil slick in the window. That's why so many people in my state were dying and getting cancer. The fact is, those frontline communities, it doesn't matter what you're paying them. It matters how you keep them safe. What do? And you impose restrictions on the pollutions that
Donald Trump, here's Donald Trump's campaign.
Okay,
communities.
I have one final
Would there be
question.
any place for
It's
fossil
false.
fuels,
Would you close
including
down the
coal
oil?
and fracking, in a Biden administration?
Yes.
Oh, that's
No,
interesting.
we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated and no more subsidies for either one of those. I guarantee we're going to end fossil fuel. No more, no new fracking.
I gradually move away from fracking.
And I think it's critically important.
Joe Biden just couldn't have walked into that
Fossil fuel lease.
any better.
Well, like, what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping the pipeline infrastructure?
This is the one.
They want
No, that's just pipeline.
they want to phase out fossil fuels, and we're going to phase out fossil fuels.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning
We
fracking.
actually do
All
get
right.
into solar and wind.
We
And
have
that's
one
maybe the
final
biggest
question.
statement in terms of business. That's the biggest statement.
Okay.
Because
We have
basically
one
what he's
final
saying
question,
is he is
Mr.
going to
President.
destroy the oil industry. Will you remember that, Texas? Will you
Okay.
remember that, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma?
Vice President Biden, let me give you 10 seconds to respond, and then I
Ohio.
have to get to the final question.
He takes everything out of context. But the point is, look, we have to move toward a net zero emissions. The first place to do that by the year 2035 is in energy production. By 2050, totally.
All right. One
Is he gonna
final
get
question
China to
both
do
of you.
it?
No, we're finished with
Did
this.
you get to get China to do it? You need to not interrupt there. Let her just ask the last question, dude.
All right,
That'll
this
cost you
is
$1
about
trillion.
leadership, gentlemen. And this first question does go to you, President Trump. Imagine this is your inauguration day.
You're going to give Biden the last
In your
word.
address to Americans who did not vote for you. You'll each have 1 minute, starting with you, Mr.
We have to make our country totally successful as it was prior to the plague coming in from China. Now we're rebuilding it, and we're doing record numbers, 11.4 million jobs in a short period of time, et cetera. But I will tell you, go back. Before the plague came in, just before, I was getting calls from people that were not normally people that would call me. They wanted to get together. We had the best black unemployment numbers in the history of our country. Hispanic, women, Asian, people with diplomas, with no diplomas, MIT graduates, #1 in the class. Everybody had the best numbers. And you know what? The other side wanted to get together. They wanted to unify. Success is going to bring us together. We are on the road to success. But I'm paying taxes, and he wants to raise everybody's taxes, and he wants to put new regulations on everything. He will kill it. If he gets in, you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen. Your 401ks will go to hell, and it'll be a very, very sad day for this country.
All right. Vice President Biden, same question to you. What will you say during your inaugural address to Americans who did not vote for you?
I will say, I'm an American president. I represent all of you, whether you.
I don't know if Donald Trump's answer on that was very good.
I'm going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction. We're going to choose hope over fear. We're going to choose to move forward because we have enormous opportunities to make things better. We can grow this economy. We can deal with the systemic racism. And at the same time, we can make sure that our economy is being run and moved and motivated by clean energy, creating.
Megan Kelly says that Trump won this debate.
That's the fact. That's what we're going to do.
Biden wasn't a force at all. Trump was substantive, on point, well-tempered, definitely helped himself when it mattered most.
Decency, honor, respect, treating people with dignity, making sure that everyone has an even chance. And I'm going to make sure you get that.
Well, yeah, Ezra Klein, Biden, unlike Trump, knows a softball question.
All right, I want to thank you.
I don't think that Donald Trump answered very well that question.
Debate. Really appreciate it. President Trump, former Vice President Joe Biden, thank you to Belmont University.
Origin Code says there's no way I could vote Biden after this. So what is it
Election Day is
that you think?
Don't forget.
Now let's shut you up. What is it that you think he said that killed it for you the most? Because for me, I was never going to vote for Joe Biden, of course. But this whole thing with the corruption in China and Russia and all of that sort of stuff is just how can anybody vote for him after that? And you saw it come up there in the debate, and Joe Biden just kind of tried to deflect and not answer it and says, oh, it's just all Russian opposition. But we all know that that's all bullshit. We know that it's for real, and we know that Joe Biden knows it's for real. He's just lying through his teeth. He's blatantly lying on the debate stage, like seriously. Origin Code is stance on the lockdown for sure, and that corruption is icing on the cake. Now, the thing with the lockdown is interesting because Joe Biden is saying that we shouldn't lock down. In the debate, he's saying he shouldn't lock down, but then in some of the answers, he's talking about that we do need to lock down or that we need to do something. It's just like he'll kind of say, he kind of says it both ways. He's very clearly trying to have it both ways, right? Yeah, I do believe on points that Donald Trump won the debate. And here is why. So the thing that I would always go back to when looking at debates is their game plan, right? What is it that they're trying to accomplish? Okay. Donald Trump has a message. It's, I'm not a politician. I'm here. I'm going to fight for you. And we can be successful together. That's his message. Did he get that message out? Yes. Now, is that the message that he needs to get out to bring the voters in? It helps. But the one that he needs to get out to bring the voters in is that, hey, the coronavirus thing has been hard, but we're going to get through it and we can be successful coming out of this. Right? I thought that he did that very well. I thought that he handled the coronavirus thing in the first debate very, very poorly. And in that debate, I thought that he did really, really well with it. Of course, there's back and forth and how those undecided voters, or like suburban women in particular, if that's going to convince them over, I'm not sure if it's enough. But at the very least, he helped himself on that issue. And then the last one, that Joe Biden is corrupt, that he's a corrupt politician. And I think that he did that extremely, extremely well. Asking Joe Biden, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it? And then finally getting Joe Biden to blame somebody else for it. Well, the Republicans didn't let us do it. And then Donald Trump was like, well, I was able to get this reform done, and I was able to get Democrats to come over on it. Right? Was just so damning on Joe Biden. It really showed that, hey, Donald Trump can get it done and Joe Biden can't. And, will Joe Biden destroy the economy and all those things? I don't know if people buy all of that stuff, but he made the case, and I think he made it effectively. So overall, I think that Donald Trump did good. I also, now on Joe Biden's side, I didn't see a super bad mistake. You know what I mean? Like, he walked into it a couple of times. But I actually felt in the first debate that Joe Biden made a lot of very, very severe mistakes. And because of the tenor of the debate, Donald Trump wasn't really able to take advantage of it, Anyways. What else? I will read a little bit on Twitter. Now that I've kind of put my thoughts out, I can kind of read what other people are thinking. Okay, yeah. Oh, Kristen Welker. Okay, so Kristen Welker, there was a lot of concern about her not being fair, and I really don't think that she should have been chosen for the debate, but I think that she did a pretty good job. Yeah. She didn't ask really long questions. She asked both candidates very difficult questions. Every question was a difficult question. She tried to move the debate along, but she wasn't pushy about it. She let them fight when they really, really wanted to, and I think it was okay. Yeah, James Woods tweeting, and I think that this is really the kill shot, in my opinion. You and Barack Obama are the reason I am the president of the United States today. I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama, because you did a poor job. It was a one, probably top 5 strongest debate moments for him. It's interesting how the stumbling, slurred Biden is able to at least hold himself. Very interesting. Well, it is kind of interesting that, well, here's something that is so weird about Joe Biden. It was never in debates. Joe Biden has always been pretty good at debates. I'm trying to remember when we saw him before, but I mean, when we were looking at the Democrat debates, all of the Democrats were going after him, and he did really well. I've said this before on these debate stages, right? Where Joe Biden makes the mistakes is on the campaign trail. It's like when he's talking to regular people, all of a sudden he starts saying stupid stuff. I think the issue is that he can't keep his facts right. Because he doesn't, they say that Donald Trump doesn't live in a world of truth. Joe Biden doesn't either. Joe Biden is just saying what his political advisors tell him to. You know what I mean? And so when he gets into interactions directly with voters, that's when he makes the big mistakes. Juanita Broderick, no way I'm going to listen to Chris Wallace, Juan Williams, and Donna Brazil in a post-debate summary. This was a big win for Trump. Now on to the pay-for-play. Biden corruption. Nigel Farage, of course, thinks that it was... all of the ones that are saying here are... most of them are very pro-Trump. This guy, John, I don't know who that is. Nobody cares what he thinks. Kellyanne Conway, of course. I would push Biden's appeal to character decency and honesty to try and make that the thing people remember from this debate. I think that Donald Trump destroyed that really effectively. That was another strong moment for him when he's like, "Oh, I'm so good," and that Donald Trump was very effective at coming in and saying, "Like, he's doing the politician thing. He doesn't want to talk about China because he knows that it's bad for him. He lies to you about all of these things. He doesn't actually do what he says he's going to do. Oh, and by the way, he's involved in all of this corruption. Oh, you say that it's Russia? Like, that's funny. Like, he just, because we know that it's true, right? It's been confirmed now. Like, the business, Hunter Biden's business partner, the guy that did the whole investment banking thing with him, has come out and said that it's true. It is. That is 100% confirmed now at that point. This guy is not a part of a Russian, disinformation campaign. The emails are real. And Joe Biden getting up there in the debate, Joe Biden knows that they're real. This guy says that he spoke with Joe Biden about the business. So this is going to come back. Because here's the thing is that Joe Biden probably had an opportunity to say something about this, but instead he lied. And yeah, Tony Bobulinski is going to end Joe Biden, I think. Now that the debate is gone, that was Joe's like last chance to like get in front of it, and now they're just going to bury him. I really think they will. Good night, Origin. I need to get going. My back is all twisted up and stuff. You can tell I'm like trying to stretch it and stuff. I don't feel good. It's making my neck lock up. And culture. MSNBC proud of their guy. My take has been that the Hunter scandal is significant and real, but it's not what will win Trump the election. I think this debate proves that Trump's best movements and Biden's worst had nothing to do with Hunter's laptop. Interesting. Well, I still believe that coronavirus is going to be what is the biggest thing for this. Are you going to go short of Biden? Well, not initially, no. I mean, I'm going to look and see what people's positionings are and everything else and roll with it. Thank you for doing the channel. Absolutely, Brad. This one is, take it easy with the powerlifting discs. Don't repair, I know. Yeah. Well, it's the weightlifting is actually pretty good for the back, but a kind of part of the issue is I sat a lot today, and I spent a lot of time back testing shit today. I ran hours of back testing, and I got something that back tested really good, but then when I expanded the time period, it fell apart. Like, it was still profitable, but only barely. I was really disappointed by it. I need to get a stronger machine. I really do. Maybe I should just try upgrading this processor. But I don't get everything I can out of this processor. I don't know if it's like it can't move the memory fast enough or what, but maybe I need something with a bigger cache. Today can be low of this pullback, then we rally over to 3470. Well, I would like to at least see over 3465, because that was the values from yesterday where we were kind of at like balanced after being positive. So I'm a little I don't know. The thing is that I think that there's a lot of reason to be cautious right now, but then it's like, but we're going to get stimulus, so it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these little things where it's like, okay, you got to get past the thing that everybody seems to care about and is like the big question trade. And then you can actually get into the thing that's actually going to matter, right? Like, you're going to go in and it's going to be like, who's going to win? Is that good or bad for the economy? And everybody's going to have their say on that day. And then what's going to happen is like, I actually think there's a chance that there will be that if Joe Biden wins, that there will be a rally of some sort. It might be short-lived and be retraced, and it will probably go two ways that day. But then when Joe gets in and he starts putting some of his policies in, the stock market's going to go down. If the Democrats come in and nuke the filibuster, the stock market's going to go down. No question about it. You can't impose all of those regulations that they want and the higher tax rates that they want. There's the only reason that the market thinks that it could go up is because they think they're going to get stimulus. So that's a scary kind of setup, you know? I would be careful with that one. Okay. I really shouldn't. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. In the meantime, stay profitable.